Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR HALACHA. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Sunday, 4th day of November 26th day of CHESHVAN. One more reminder to you, if you're hearing this on Saturday night or Sunday, that the clocks are switching back in a lot of areas in the United States, and be ready for that. It's going to change your times for davening and some other halachas. So yeah, switch your clock back if you haven't already done that. My apologies if you're in an area where this does not apply, but I think it applies to most of the United States. Now we're going to do a small unit on brachos of complicated foods. I shouldn't say complicated, but where there are questions as to what bracha do you make on it. So here we go, in alphabetical order. Apple kugel. If you're eating apple kugel, generally if the flour that's in the apple kugel is in strong proportion and there's a lot of it, so it's a little bit cake-like, then for sure the bracha is going to be bori minim zonos. But if there is such a thing as, and that's usually the case in an apple kugel, but if it happens that there's very little flour and it's only there to help bind the thing together, then it could actually be that the bracha would be ha'etz. It's just, that's not the usual situation for apple kugel. Applesauce. Now that one's a little bit interesting because when you buy applesauce in the store, they have commercial machines making it, and they get it down so smooth to the point where you don't see any pieces of apple. So a lot of rabbis believe that the bracha on that should be shehakol nihiyeh bidvaro. But usually the type that's more lumpy, homemade, or store-bought stuff that is made in the homemade style with lumps of apple in it, then the bracha is borei pri ha'etz. Blackberries and blueberries. Now that's a little bit tricky because although they're called a blackberry and a blueberry, they actually grow on a tree type of thing. The thing stays alive from year to year, so we classify it as a tree. So the bracha on blackberries and blueberries is borei pri ha'etz. Bet some of you didn't know that. Breadsticks. Now this is also a little bit tricky. Breadsticks, when you eat just one or two as a snack, the appropriate bracha on that would be a borei minim zonos. But if you're eating a lot of them and it's part of the meal, then it's way more likely that they're going to need a hamotzi because they are actually dried pieces of bread. Challah kugel. Not all of you know what that is, but basically you take old pieces of challah, mush them together and make it into a kugel. So the bracha on that can typically be borei minim zonos, but if there are pieces in it bigger than about an ounce, then it would actually require netilas yadayim and hamotzi. Okay, cheesecake. Usually cheesecakes, the appropriate bracha on them is borei minim zonos, but sometimes the dough will be so thin that it's really just to hold the cheesecake. It almost just acts as like the wax paper to hold the cheesecake there. Then if that's the situation, then yeah, it could be that the bracha would be shehakol. Chocolate covered nuts and raisins. Wow, there are a lot of different opinions amongst the rabbis on that. So Rav Moshe was of the opinion that Rav Moshe Feinstein Zatzal, that is, great rabbi, he was of the opinion that they could actually need two brachos, one shehakol for the chocolate and a borei pri ha'etz for the raisin. Now, if one of the foods is a main food to you, like take me for example, when I eat chocolate-covered peanuts, the chocolate is the main. I mean, it's nice that there's a peanut in there, but it mostly feels like a chocolatey main thing to me. And a lot of rabbis say that in that situation, the bracha that you would make would be shehakol, because you're eating chocolate and peanuts are just kind of like the nice thing that's in the middle of the chocolate. Rav Shlomo Zalman was of the opinion that you go by whatever the majority ingredient is. So there's quite a difference amongst the rabbis here. I would recommend that if you eat chocolate raisins a lot or chocolate-covered peanuts a lot, talk to your rabbi and get guidance on what do I do. This is how I feel about chocolate. Peanuts, I blah, 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 mostly like that. Talk to your rabbi about it and get a proper guidance for you. Chocolate-covered orange peels. I bet a lot of you don't eat that. Now, I don't think it would be too accurate to say anybody's eating them mainly for the orange peel. They're eating them for the chocolate. And anyway, orange peels, I don't even know what bracha you would make on an orange peel. So most rabbis are all saying shehakol when you eat chocolate-covered orange peels. Last one for today would be corn chips. And I bet there are some of you out there that mistakenly make the bracha of borei pri adama since it's corn. But the thing is, a lot of times corn products are mashed up corn until it becomes cornmeal, at which point the bracha is not borei pri hadama anymore. The bracha would be shehakol. So I would recommend there too, if there's a certain corn chip kind of thing that you like a lot, you might want to double check with your rabbi or your good kosher organization in your city to say, hey, these kind of corn chips in my town, and they're made by this and this. What's the thing there? Are they cornmeal? Are they shahako? Or are they pieces of corn? In which case, maybe it would be bar piyadama. So it pays to find out what's going on with your corn chip and ask your rabbi what he recommends would be the bracha for you for corn chip. Because if it is cornmeal all mushed together into a shape, then the bracha would be shahako. Thanks for logging on. Log on again tomorrow for more. Bye.